So we'll call this meeting to order. If you could please get the roll call. Where's Daniel? Daniel. Sure.
Ms. Cordova,
Here.
Mr. Rackler,
Here. Present.
Mr. Robinson,
Here.
Mr. Elkins,
Here.
Mr. Self,
Here.
Mr. Merrick,
Here.
and Mr. Lopez.
Here.
Okay, if you'll please join me in the invocation led by Mr. Robinson and the pledge by Mr. Self.
Robert, please. Father in heaven, coming again tonight to ask you to continue to put your blessing in our community, be with our citizens, be with our students as they go back to school. Make sure that they're safe as they journey from home to school and back from school to home. Work with our employees, continue to put the blessing on them so they can continue to provide service for our community. We come to you with this in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the flag of the state of New Mexico, see a symbol of perfect friendships among the united cultures.
Next item is public comment. The public has the opportunity to provide comment on subjects regarding to city business during the public comment period. Speakers' comments will be limited to 3 minutes unless the mayor and or council request more information. The time limit is given in an effort to allow the public input, but also to move the agenda forward in a prompt yet efficient manner. All speakers must sign in at the beginning of the meeting. Topics are limited to 6 speakers per topic. Did everybody who wanted to speak have a chance to sign in? Okay, so we have up first Todd Sealing.
Then I apologize, I'm actually later on the agenda.
Okay, so you just want to be on the agenda item. Okay, so Beatriz Montanez and Saul Rodriguez for application for easement. You're on the agenda as well? Okay. Okay, so hearing that we have no public comment, we will move to our next item. We are really excited about this next item. It is the swearing in of our new city manager, Mr. Christopher Moyer. We'd like to introduce you all to him. He started yesterday. He's hit the ground running and we're going to swear him in. Steve?
I will do so.
Thank you.
Why don't you stand right there? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Christopher Moyer,
I, Christopher Warner,
having been selected to serve as the city of Portales manager
being selected as to serve as city manager of Cal,
and accepting said responsibilities,
and accepting said responsibility,
I swear that I will perform the duties of city manager
that I will perform the duties of city manager
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability,
in compliance with all the laws, rules, and regulations
applying to all of the rules and regulations
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the city of Portales.
and the city of Cal.
Congratulations.
Mr. Moyer, if you want to give us a little introduction, that would be great. If you want to come to the podium. Sorry, before you sit down.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be serving the city of Portales and the residents, and I look forward to working with everybody. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Next item, minutes of the previous meeting. We had 2 meetings, one regular meeting that was July 30th, 2024. Those are in your packet, and also the special meeting of August 3rd, 2024. They were in,
Mayor Pro Tem, Ms. Parker is on Zoom.
okay, so we'll do roll call for everything. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Did you guys have a chance to review the meeting minutes? And if so, what is the pleasure of the council?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Lopez and a second by Mr. Rackler. Danielle, if you could call the roll.
Ms. Cordova,
Yes.
Mr. Rackler,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
yes,
Vicky Merrick. Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Danielle, the record does reflect Ms. Parker online, correct, as present? Okay,
Yes.
perfect, okay. Okay, next item, presentations. So item 1 is the clerk's department. Ms. Swopes? We did vote.
Good evening and thank you for having me here. I brought a slideshow and it uses really gorgeous colors. So it's much more colorful as a presentation than I ever could be. And we can read along together because I did develop this a bit ago. And I want to make sure that we understand where we've been, but also where we're going, because I think it probably could be a little bit updated. We've made some accomplishments as the clerks in our department. So if you could go ahead and move forward. Okay. I won't ask you to read, and I won't read along all of that, but it's just a brief introduction. I am Danielle Swopes, and some of you may know me, some of you do not. I was a librarian for over 20 years, 11 years, and then I was picked up and brought over to City Hall to help fill in for when Ms. Joanne was still at work. She was still a city clerk, but she was ill. So they asked me to help fill in. I think about after she'd been on sick leave for 6 months. And so it was just in an effort to keep the work moving forward, not necessarily to replace her, because honestly, she had worked for over 42 years and almost a full 43 when she finally did retire. And there's no way I could fill in those shoes. So the clerks have a great deal of lessons to learn, a lot of work to perform. It's a very, very busy office, and I'm very grateful that I have my deputy clerk, Melissa actually Carrillo now. And she was the human resources clerk's assistant. And then she was moved into the position the day after I became the interim city clerk. She was made the deputy city clerk. So if you want to move on, Christine. And that's just trying to clarify to you that clerks are not born. Clerks do not get into a position generally knowing everything there is to know. It seriously, truly is a position where you learn about the job while you're on the job. So you kind of hit the ground running. And someone actually told me after I first started, like my very first day as the interim city clerk, oh, it's like being thrown into a pool of sharks because there's lots of swimming to do. And it's really hard swimming. But I will say it's enjoyable, just to clarify. Go ahead, please. It causes severe anxiety, by the way, just in case you're wondering. Because I know I'm hiding it real well right now. I'm presenting just so professionally and with such authority. But honestly, it's a very anxiety-inducing job. There's so many unknowns. But with all the mistakes, and I've made many so far, with all the mistakes I've made, what I've learned is it's a learning opportunity. It's just a moment to grow and learn and develop and move forward. So that's what we hope to do. We attended a series of classes almost immediately upon becoming clerks, Melissa and I, and we attended some virtual classes. want to move on. And we attended the Clerk Certification Institute, which was held in Santa Fe back in October. And that was close to a full week of attending classes. You can move on, please. And then we've attended other workshops and classes since then. Every time we go to a class or a workshop, we are accruing certification points, which will help us, we hope, come to a place where we earn our official title or label of a CMC, a certified municipal clerk. That's our goal. And we understand that that's one of the things Miss Joanne did. So it's necessary, we feel, to follow in her footsteps properly by gaining as much certifications and workshop experience as we can. You can move forward. And that is just a box that will tell you some of the things that we've accomplished. One of the first things that we learned about was IPRAS. And oh, we love IPRAS so much. But we have learned, the number one thing we've learned is it is a priority, it's the number one priority as a clerk. So kind of everything stops and we look at those first and foremost, and we try to give those our utmost attention and answer them as we can. But it's important with IPRAS that we follow protocols and procedures. We never fly by the seat of our pants on the tasks that we perform, hardly ever, but especially with IPRAS. I can't read from distances because I'm that old now. But however, I did immediately learn last year how to respond to the NMRLD, the New Mexico Regulatory License Board for liquor licenses and other licenses. So that's one of the things we do. We post documents when they get signed after they're approved. We post them to the city website. We send them to Christine and she ensures that they're posted as needed to our social media so that we're positively pushing and sharing all the information that's necessary for the city, all the laws, all the resolutions, all the projects that we are positively moving on, and even those that we're voting down maybe, but we're trying to be transparent. And one of the ways that we do that is by posting documentation. We are a public relations facility or department. And so we are always trying to be conscientious about that. We do presentations like we're doing right now. And we publish legal notices in the paper, trying to make sure that we follow protocol. I think the important thing to let everyone know, not just you, but everybody in the audience as well, there are protocols that we follow, policies that we follow, that we also help make. That's part of what you all do. You help make law and protocol and policies that we're required to follow. And so we try to do that so that we present as on board with the right direction and following the state of New Mexico statutes as best as we can. You can move forward. You can move forward. You can move forward. So we've got a list of goals and you can read those. We've got a huge ton of work to do. Part of what happened shortly before I came on in September, we actually moved City Hall. And I wasn't a part of that project. So I came in at the tail end of that, and we have a lot of stored documentation that we need to get in its right place. And that's one of our goals. We also need to get back in frame by scanning the accepted and approved ordinances and getting them into our city's website through the Municode system. So we're going to learn about that and work towards getting that up to date. You can see other goals up there. We're just anxious to return integrity to the filing system. and learning as much as we can about other things like lodger's tax, which has been a challenging, but it's an important aspect of what we do as a city. So we don't want to take that lightly. We want to do it the right way. Okay, Christine. You can go ahead. This was originally directed at the mayor and the council for the retreat that we had in March. I've got a whole different direction to take when and if we have a second retreat this fall. But it's just a letter of first an appreciation for what you guys do in your positions, but also wanting to speak of appreciation for what we are doing in our positions and that we are and letting you know that we do take this very seriously. And it is our desire to be as purposefully driven to meet the goals and to do a good job as we possibly can. And also to provide support for the rest of the city staff. And I feel like our positions are very critical to kind of meeting, between the two of council and the mayor, and then our city staff. And that's just thanking people for the opportunity to be here. That's the mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, the council, and the staff as well. They've had to endure use a great deal of patience for the both of us in our new positions, but we are working towards meeting the demand. But we do thank everyone in the community for their patience and their understanding and their allowance of letting us be in these roles. We feel very honored to fill these positions, and we thank you. I will stand for any questions if you have any, but.
Do you have any questions?
Danielle, I don't think this was in the packet. Could you email that to us?
I tried to put it in the packet and it wouldn't translate as a PDF for me.
You can just send it as a PowerPoint, be fine, just so we have a copy.
Okay,
Thank you.
I can do that. It was posted to the city website, but I will do that. Sure.
Yep. Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem and Councilman, I'd like to give Danielle kudos. Because when she's really been humble here. I know that how hard she works. We have a project, a Sideline project called MLK. Soon as she got into the interim position, she was right there and learning and working with the Culture Affairs Committee, helping us with our budget and everything. She saved our invoice system. She made sure that we got monies paid to the state, and she's right on top of everything, and I appreciate it. My committee appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your work.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, thank you, Danielle. Again, we know that both you and Melissa are, really working towards your growth and development, and we appreciate that because without the knowledge that you guys are gaining, we can't be powerful. So thank you for your knowledge.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, next item Item 2 on presentations is the 5-year service award for Daniel Esquivel. Is he here? Oh, come on up, then. Can see you in the back. Certificate, we present the certificate of appreciation to Daniel Esquivel in recognition of 5 years of your faithful service, outstanding performance, and commitment to excellence for the city of Taos. Dated today and then. We have 5 years in. Thank you. Next item is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is approved by a single motion. Any member of the council may request an item to be transferred to the regular agenda from the consent agenda without discussion or vote. Does anybody have anything that they would like to remove? Hearing none, we will move through the items. We have 9 items that we are moving through the consent agenda. Item 1 is approval of recommendation for resolution number PC 2024-2025-22, a variance at 1500, 1504, 1508 South Avenue G, and 811 West 15th Street for the purpose of building a 6-foot metal fence for individual yards at an apartment complex. Approval, item 2 is approval of recommendation for resolution PC 242523, special use permit for the address of 207 and 211 South Avenue K, Grace Point Church of Portales. Item 3, approval of recommendation for resolution PC 2024-2025-24, variance for construction standards of the plotted and underdeveloped portion of the area of Ithaca Avenue. Item number 4, approval of recommendation for resolution PC 2024-25-25, variance for Fort 17 South Avenue B for the purpose of building a carport. And then we have the interim city manager, PFD Fire Chief requests the approval of the following consent agenda items. Number 5, annual agreement with the Roosevelt County DWI program and the Portales Police Department, providing the Portales Police Department up to $10,015 for non-capital minor equipment to support services. Item 6, clinical affiliation agreement with the Provost Community College to allow CCC students to participate in clinical time for the Portales Fire Department from July 2024 through July 2026. Repeated memorandum of agreement. And then CPO is item number 7, award for a contract for Molson Corbin for professional engineering services for on-call services at the Portales Municipal Airport, RFP 2024-05-05-17. And then we have one for procurement, number 8. This is a notice of the formal negotiations for all hazard mitigation plan services. We are asking for approval to move forward in the process of awarding RFP 2024-04-25 to H2O Partners, Inc., whose proposal was chosen by the committee in the scoring process to fit the criteria. Police Department seeks item number 9 for the Portales Police Department, who received 2 New Mexico GoPro appropriation funds, receiving funding for the purchase and upfitting of the Portales of new police vehicles. In the past, these funds were formerly labeled as the junior bill funding. This is the NM Grow 26-Z19D164 for $160,000 for the fleet replacement, and the GM Grow 16-Z19D154 for $80,000 for equipment and technology. No matching funds are required on this item. Now I know why Mike was absent. Okay, so all of these are, thank you, all of these are on the consent agenda items. Do we have any questions on these items?
I noticed all of the planning and zoning items were approved by planning and zoning committee, so.
Unanimously.
Unanimously, yes.
Just a quick note on that, if you don't mind, Mayor Pro Tem. For those of you that don't know, I'm no longer part of planning and zoning. After the last municipal league training that Eldon and I went to, it was pointed out that due to the quasi judicial nature of that committee, it's not appropriate for a council member to sit on that. So the mayor is in the process of finding someone to replace me on that committee. So in case you're wondering why there was like only 4 votes on some of that stuff, because I'm no longer a part of that. So it was just one of those things that training taught us, that there is an attorney general's opinion that that's not appropriate. So I removed myself.
Thank you. And the mayor has received Mr. Rackler's resignation from that committee. Anything else?
Yeah, can I ask a question on the item number 3 for the South Ithaca
and 15th Street. Are we just going, I mean, it seems like it was similar to what we did on, and it's not Jackson, it would be the one next to it for Mr. Segovia. Is that pretty much the same thing that we're doing? Okay. To extend just to 15th Street from 16th, just to finish that?
Extent to 15th Street, and then the rest would be Comici up to the property line.
Okay.
Anybody
Go ahead.
else? Okay, hearing none. What is the pleasure of the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rattler and a second by Mr. Robinson. Oh, Mr. Self, I'm sorry. Danielle, will you call the roll?
And are you voting, Mayor?
Yes.
Mhm.
So, Ms. Veronica,
Yes.
Mr. Rackler,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
yes,
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Action items, the first item is approval of the mayor's appointment for the alternate municipal judge. We did have a vacancy for the alternate municipal judge, and he has appointed Mike Prokop. Prokop has graciously agreed to serve as that. So if there is no objections, or if you have any comments that you guys would want to make, if we can have
Thank him for doing it.
thank you for doing it. Do we need to take action on that item? We do, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the pleasure of the council?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Robinson and a second by Mr. Elkins. Danielle?
Ms. Veronica.
Yes,
Pardon, sorry.
that's okay.
And Mr. Rackler,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
yes,
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next section is the water department. And item 1 is approval for resolution 24-18. This item was tabled at the July 30th, 2024 council meeting until this meeting. It authorizes and approves the submission of a completed application for the financial assistance and project approval to the New Mexico Finance Authority. Ms. Flores.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Thank you for the pleasure of coming up this evening and going over this PowerPoint. This is my first one, so please bear with me. Okay, so this is over the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. It's funds that we're trying to apply for. It's technically considered as a loan, but it is more of a grant, and it'll explain more in the slides. So this is the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund is going to be based off of our lead and copper. And this is a project that we've already been doing since December of 2022. And we've already inventoried over 3,267 meters. Next slide, please. So little reading on this one. The lead and copper revision rule, the LCRR. This is pretty much a requirement of the nation to do. It is an inventory of all of our meters to make sure that we don't have any lead and copper in our pipelines in regards to for the public water system. This is an inventory that we have to have submitted in by October 16th of 2024. The city has already inventoried 3,267. That gives us over 56% inventoried out of our 5,000 meters. Next slide, please. Okay, the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund priority list annuals for fiscal year 2025. The city of Portales is #1 ranking in this, and we are requesting up to $2.5 million. Next slide. This slide is gonna be off of the Census Report Bureau. This is for the medium household income for the city of Portales. Annually, there's also, I'm sorry, there's a 5-year average of the medium household income versus the national medium household income. The city of Portales stands between, and the annual income made is little less than 50,000 a year. Compared to the national, it's 75. So that puts the city of Portales at 65% ranking. Okay, next slide. A little bit about the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. It is used for at the city's advantage in moving forward with the lead and copper project. Like I said, we've already started back in 2022, and in regards to identifying and inventorying all of our meters that we already have. At since December of 22, we've already located a little over 3,000 with already estimated at 950 homes after 1990 or 1986 have been excluded being built after that year. Let's see. Okay, next slide. So this program is based on a reimbursement process. Once the loan grant for the city is able to be submitted in requisition, it'll be between the loan of forgiveness. So that gives the city at being severely disadvantaged. So it's going to be pretty much a loan or a grant loan. So 60% grant, 40% loan. Okay. And at this time, if anybody has any questions, I'll be feel free to happy to answer them.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, sir.
On the number of meters that we've looked at, are we supposed to look at the other 2,000 or so before October 16th?
Yes, and we are actually trying to get with the state to see if we can get that waived because we are already over the 20% that is actually required. And like I said earlier, we're over 50% and shows that we are already doing what we're supposed to. So Chris and Johnny have reached out, but as everybody else, you know, plates are pretty full with everything. So we're still trying to see if we can get that waived so we don't have to worry about checking those other 2,000 meters.
Okay. And follow up to that, what are these funds used for? What is their purpose?
The city has actually already put in a little over $150,000 in regards to everything that we bought as far as equipment, manpower,
Okay.
and the programs that we already have to be able to obtain the GIS mapping and to be able to see what we had on our maps and stuff.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So whenever you're checking, you're looking at the connection to the meter going to the house, correctly?
Both sides, our side where the meter is and the customer side.
So if someone has had a leak in the past and changed that PVC for a small period of the line,
Mhm.
and then terminated and tied back into their existing copper or lead line, then it could still be a hazard to them.
It
So
could.
we're not going in the house. And
No,
checking anything.
all we check up is pretty much where the meter is and how many feet is it? Is it a certain amount of feet?
It's just,
Both sides of
just the
it.
connection.
Yeah, it's just pretty much where the
We go
connection.
about 5 feet past the connection.
Okay.
And then
That's it.
the customer is responsible for their side.
Oh, I had thoughts that someone could have repaired a line coming off the meter, put in a piece of PVC, and someone would look at it and think they're in good shape when they've actually still got part of a line that's copper or lead, so. That was my question. The other one was, on the funding part of it, on, the 40% loan was, did I see on there that that was a 1/4% interest?
Did I say that backwards? It was.
No, I think it's 0% interest with a 0.25%.
Or administrative.
Administration fee.
Chris, can you put that slide back up, please? Okay, while she pulls that up,
The question I was kind of getting to is if you've spent, like you say, 160,000 so far
Mhm.
on time and materials, but you're applying for 2.5 million.
Yes, it's to better everything. Okay, so this project, it's not just till October 16th. This is every year, every 3 years, we do testing until I think it was, I found out until like indefinitely, pretty much, that we will be monitoring, we will be testing, we will be doing everything that we have to comply to for the LC, what was it, LC? Yeah, RR. And so I think, yeah, this should be this. Keep going. Again, right here.
So is this
60%.
Is this money given to you all in one lump payment, or is it divvied out as you spend it, or?
I actually, I'm not 100% sure on that one. I
I
didn't.
think it's at its goes.
did you say at the beginning it was refundable
Yes.
money?
Could be
Yes, so then,
Get refunded.
And this is just to inventory to see if we do have it. We're not replacing any of our old meters when we're doing that, or are we replacing the meters at that time?
no, as of right now, there's been no lead and copper detected at all.
So yes, it's just for an inventory.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
they just basically want us to gather all the information we can, put it on, or put all the data on a spreadsheet and submit it to the state.
So that's what the funding's for, is just to look for it and pay for the labor to do it?
It's paid for the labor to do it. We're using It's Quest temping agency to bring on the additional employees to do the inventory for us. And then, of course, we had to go out and buy a pipe hunter, which is the excavator to remove the dirt with hydro excavation. And then pretty much the GIS and stuff to go along with it.
Mr. Robinson?
Chris, Ashley, would you go back over the slide when you describe what the city will take care of the pipe inside and outside for the customer? How far do we go fixing the customer side?
We don't fix the customer side. The customer is responsible for that.
So did I misunderstand you then? Then I thought I heard you say that.
They're just looking at both sides of
We
the
look
meter.
at both
Looking at
sides.
both sides. So okay, so you just looking at both sides, but you're not doing any, because if they have a leak, because our policy is we don't fix the private side.
Right.
Okay, all right. I misunderstood you.
Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Lopez.
by the way, I just helped the city last night by doing that test. So I know a little bit of it because I have to document what time I went to bed. And then I have to wait till 5 or 6 hours and get up and put it in paper. And he picked it up this morning,
For the sample.
the water.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
It ties together with the inventory, but it's a lead and copper sample that the state requires us to take every 3 years.
Anybody else? Thank you, Ashley. What is the pleasure of the council on this item?
I moved that way. With one correction statement, when you introduced, you said water department, and we got reprimanded this morning at Public Works that it's utility service, not water
Sorry.
department. So I was, Chris and Ashley kind of ran us through the ringer this morning about that. So we have to use the term utility. rather
Got it.
than Water. Okay, I move that we approve.
Second,
Have a motion by Mr. Robinson and a second by Mr. Lopez. Danielle?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Mr. Raffler,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
yes,
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Ashley, will you provide us with that PowerPoint as well, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, item 2, approval of resolution 2024-24 authorizing the assignment and authorized officer and agents, State of New Mexico Environment Department, capital appropriation projects, Portales Water Storage System improvements, SAP 24-12422 GF grant of 500,000. Ms. Flores.
Yes, and it's actually SAP 24-I 2422-GF. It's an I, not a.
Oh, that's an I not a
Yes,
one.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this is a resolution for pretty much the authorized signatures for the NMFA, for the funds, for already allocated money for the rehabilitation of the Line Street tanks. So this is for the ICIP. We got awarded $500,000 to be able to add to the additional $500,000 for Water Trust Board as well. So we have a little, $1 million to be able to start with the Lime Street tank and start the rehab on that.
Questions?
This is in addition to the water trust funds that we received. I noticed in here that it said something about AIPP, which is art in public places. So are they paying for painting on the tank or some kind of murals or something, or?
No, it's gonna get painted, yes, but not murals or anything. This is the one on Lime Street. It's the underground.
Right, but the surfaces.
Just pretty much the top of it.
Any others?
So all we're approving is getting their signatures on this. We've already submit this application. Is that correct?
Yes.
Already approved.
This is just for the appropriation of the
Okay.
funding. Any other questions? If not, what is the pleasure?
Madam Chair, I'm being Public Works Chair, Committee Chair, I'm gonna make the recommendation we approve.
Second.
second,
We have a motion by Mr. Robinson and a second by Ms. Parker. Danielle?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
and Mr. Raffler,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
yes,
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 3, water monitoring easement, WM 667. Reissue.
Yes,
Ms.
this
Flores.
is for the easement for the seven monitoring wells that we have on the state land. This easement is good for up to 5 years that will expire October 22nd of 2028. The purpose of this is to collect groundwater level and quality data. Excuse me. As for anything else, I know this was brought to our attention a little while back by Mr. Merrick in regards to if we are going to reissue this easement or not. We do have 7 monitoring wells that we do have out there that the state land office does allow us to, monitor, as well as our static data and stuff like that. As of right now, is there any questions?
These are just wells that are out there that they don't actually have a pump in the hole, do they? They're just used to check the static level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Ms. Flores?
Did I see that it costs $500 per well
Yes,
per
sir.
month?
Mhm.
Is that typical?
No, per year,
Per
per
year.
year, yes, 3,500 a year.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Mhm.
And is that typical for a lease? That sounds a lot more reasonable than a month.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying that. Anybody else? Hearing none, what is the pleasure of the council?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Robinson and a second by Mr. Elkins. Danielle?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Mr. Ratcliffe,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
yes,
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
I think she skipped me.
Did I skip?
I think
Mr.
you skipped me.
Self?
Yes.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, motion carries. Next, section is public infrastructure. Ms. Joe. Item 1 is capital outlay to design and construct road improvements in Portales and Roosevelt County. This agreement is for 400,000. There is no match for this agreement. These funds can be used for city share in upcoming projects for streets. Ms. McVeigh.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council. This is just basically to accept with your signature, our capital outlay, grant approval for the available funds through NMDOT for street repairs, or cost share here in Portales. And so we're just basically asking, if you are good with signing and accepting these funds through capital outlay.
Questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So is this able to be used anywhere? It's not for any specific area?
It is not for a specific area other than, in Portales. But the way that it is worded to design and construct road improvements, we haven't specified exactly where. So, which is why we could also use it for our cost share on a road that we have been working on or that we will work on. Or we can use it on a new project, whether to plan it or to construct it, depending on what phase we are in on that project.
So it's for resurfacing or constructing, not for patching or,
Correct.
and it was asked for through ICIP funds.
Yes, sir.
Is there a reason we didn't ask for more?
We did. I usually do ask for more,
Okay.
but
This
we
is
don't
all-
always receive as much as what we ask for, but this is what was granted.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Can I ask off the top of your head, how much road do you think $400,000 could build new? If you had to do what we did on Kilgore, where you scraped it all off and then put it back.
Probably about 10 feet.
That's what I'm. Not much.
Not that.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we don't get our hopes up that the whole town's getting repaved for 400 grand.
No, sir. Yeah.
We get a block.
It may be
Okay.
that quarter.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Okay, so with that comment, I do want to say that when we did the property tax increase, we were supposed to pull the 50%. So now that we have our finance director in place and our city manager in place, I would like to make that a priority to see exactly how much funding we have in that project. That way we can start with, holding our own for matches for some of these grants that we can't apply for because we can apply for and ask for a waiver, but sometimes we don't score as high because we're constantly asking for that waiver match. So if we have those funds to where we can match our portion, then we can apply for some of these grants and score higher and be more successful with our projects. So if we could make that a priority, I would really appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Madam Pro Tem, Madam Mayor. Could you, is there any kind of way we could ask that, those two people, or what is the dollar amount in that fund?
Yes, we would, I think,
The total dollar amount.
I had put it on Miss Rivera's radar, but she was trying to get budget and everything
Okay.
approved and submitted. So that is the direction that we will give for hopefully next council meeting to just have an idea of what that is. Any other questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Merrick and a second by Mr. Elkins. Ms. Swopes, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Cordova,
Yes.
Mr. Rackler,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Next department is the fire department. Chief Kathy. We have one item and that's FY 2025, the firefighter recruitment fund allocation disbursement certification. 3 positions at $75,000 each, which covers salary and benefits of new positions only.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem and Council. As you're aware, in, let's see, May 28th of 2024, you approved a resolution for us to apply for 9 positions. Unfortunately, we were only awarded 3 positions, but on the good side of that, that's the max that they awarded anyone. So the city of Portales received the same as any other municipality. But it does cover 100% of their positions of the 3 positions for the first year, then 50% the second year, and the city has to pick up the other 50%. And then the last year, the third year is 25%. So we come before you now, like a lot of the other great things that we brought before you tonight, accepting money that doesn't have to come out of the taxpayers' dollars in our city and that are the easy things to approve. But I'll stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions?
You just had a new hiring group go through. We've got 3 positions ready to go.
Not yet. We have another process on the 31st to hopefully get enough people on our list to accommodate this.
How many open positions do you have?
Right now, with the 2 that are onboarding right now, that fills us to our current staffing. We have 2 on the list that will be contacted if y'all approve tomorrow. So we can get them in ENT basic class along with the other 3 that we have in basic and 4 that we have in intermediate and 4 that we have in paramedic. Trying to maintain certifications for the response for our community. But with this grant, we should have 1 position that's not already kind of sort of allocated by our eligibility list.
Perfect. Anybody else?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Merrick and a second by Mr. Rackler. Danielle, one more time, or a few more times.
A few more times.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Mr. Rackler.
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next department is community service, Ms. Kelly. We have item 1 to adopt and amend the amendment to Animal Control Ordinance 680. Amendments were made by a committee chosen by the members of the Portales Public Safety Committee.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I'd like to point out, if we were doing a PowerPoint competition today, I would have lost. I'm pretty competitive, so next time be prepared for some very fancy transitions. But get to the, so we got a group from committee, from Public Works, everyone was elected. And these were the big changes that they would like to see. So the surrender fee was changed from 100 to 30, which is something that came from me. We have noticed that people wouldn't be able to pay the 100. And so the 30 at least means that animals aren't abandoned, which goes back to us not having a bunch of stray population. The backyard poultry permit originally allowed multiple fowl. And it was recommended by half the council that it go to just chickens and the other half not to have even chickens allowed. So this version has just chickens. If this council would like to see no chickens, that is something they can 100% vote for. Some of the concern we had was from the police that it would bring wildlife, foxes especially, into town after said chickens. Next one. These were some of the big concerns that came through committee or through city council last time we brought it, was the inclusion of the dangerous dog permits. We did reach out to our NMSIF attorney, and he said that it would be setting a precedent if we did not allow dangerous dogs, potentially dangerous dogs. So the recommendation was to follow the established state law, which is what we have in there. Licensing, I know, came up for city licensing. We did look at a bunch of different cities. They all had it because it does cover some liability. If your dog comes in and gets sick, and we can say, well, if your dog had its license, we could have called you before it came in. And then it's another step to us enforcing rabies. So it's a liability, the reason cities do it. However, we did find that some cities do lifetime licensing, which is they get the license once, and that license is considered valid as long as the rabies is valid. So if they come in when they don't have their rabies, they can still be cited for lack of licensing and lack of rabies. But if their rabies is valid, this is good for the life of the animal. That's not in this one, but if that's a change you would like to see, that's something you can vote on. I can write it, get it approved by Steve for the final version. And the last was the length. We did look at everybody in the area, and we're actually one of the shortest ordinances at 19 pages. Some of the rescue groups and animal welfare groups we sent it called ours bare bones. But I think it's still a good, solid one. Here's some of the page lengths of some of our surrounding areas. Some get very, very intense. I think ours is pretty well suited for the staff we have and the size of our operation. I will stand for any questions you guys may have.
Mayor,
Sure.
so just to clarify, so if we decided we wanted to add the lifetime licensing, we would still approve it with that change?
Yes, sir.
Okay, or chickens or whatever we
Yes,
decide.
sir. If chickens are already included, but if you wanted
If they
to,
wanted no chicken.
no chickens, then you would add that as well.
So on the chickens, is it just female chickens, hens?
It specifies you only have female chickens, no roosters.
I saw something in there about rural, agricultural RA designated zone that they could have roosters.
Yes, so RA is already a zone that's established that has its own rules, and it allows roosters and chickens. This is just saying if you're not in that already established zone in the ordinance, that you have to follow this one, which doesn't allow roosters.
And we have RAs inside the city limits.
We do, I don't have a zoning map, but they're very, very few. We have like maybe 5 or 6 properties, the rodeo arena, the old mounted patrol area. But we do have we have approved some recent ones, so, but we do have those in town.
Who's the enforcement officer on this?
So for a lot of the city citations, I'd be our animal control officers. They can do it. They can't set an amount. The citation just goes to court, where the judge can set an amount or choose to uphold the citation or dismiss it. If it goes into criminal, animal neglect, that type of stuff, it goes through the PD.
There's a lot of chickens running around in my neighborhood.
There are. And so if this is not approved and they don't have the permit, we go to court and we do remove those chickens and fine them.
I'd like to ask the attorney a question. When a person gets bit by a dog and reported to the police, I know the city doesn't do nothing about it. Because my grandson got bit by a pit bull and they reported it. They didn't do nothing, so my son went out there and talked to to you folks. Cost him $100. And you guys said, well, there's just nothing they can do.
Well, it depends on the ordinance and, I mean, you can, there are state laws that can be followed. I do think we do have some laws on dangerous animals. And we have picked up some dangerous animals, so I'm not, I mean, each case depends on the facts of that particular case, but we do have a dangerous dog ordinance that can be enforced, and I know it's been enforced. You also have civil liabilities. The owner of the dog is responsible for the damages, the medical issues. And if you're gonna collect any money, it would come through a civil litigation and not something filed by the city. But we do have rules and regulations on dangerous animals and dogs running loose.
Well, they went by the next day or 2 days after, the dog was still there and barking to everybody. So they didn't do nothing about it. So I think we need to enforce it because otherwise it's not any good to have a law that says you gotta enforce and you don't.
I agree. I can get with you after this and we can look into it and see what was or wasn't done, so we can move forward better with that.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Anybody else?
Can I ask on the licensing?
Yes.
What are we getting licensed? Just chickens? Or is
So
it all
licensing
animals?
Any animals. So chickens get permits,
Okay,
but your dog and your cat can get licensing. It's an identification tag that has a unique number to your animal.
No
So that
chicken tag.
tag proves your animal has rabies, and if your animal is picked up running loose, we can look into our records and call you without bringing the animal to the shelter to be picked up.
okay. So it's just like a microchip type deal.
It
It's
is.
not, if I don't have a
Well, that's the
license for my dogs at home, I'm not gonna get a fine if they get out.
They can be, yes.
But if
Because,
I have a license, they wouldn't?
yes, so if you do the lifetime license, let's say it's $5, I think what our license is now. Even if they're not wearing it, you're still good. It's the city showing that we're enforcing that, and we gave you the chance for your animal to be identified. So if it comes to our shelter and gets sick, it's not on us because it should have had its unique licensing number on, so we could have called you.
What is the lifetime licensing fee?
We left it at, I don't remember what it was for the other cities, they vary, so it's whatever you guys would like to set. We're not really focused on the money aspect of it, so it can be whatever you guys are comfortable with.
Mr. Kelly, I like to go back to the dangerous dog situation. I know of a person in this town that it was on his own property, though. The dog put him in the hospital, almost killed him. Who determined that dog is dangerous?
So the license, rephrase that, the established state law that they've done establishes what that criteria needs for a dog to be potentially dangerous or dangerous. And it is the amount of wounds inflicted. It's very clear cut on those.
But this particular dog has attacked has been cited, I guess, 3 times. And he put over Turner in hospital in Lubbock. And he's a dangerous dog because this dog has attacked 3 people. How do we determine that dog is dangerous?
When the bites get reported to us, if it meets that criteria,
I
then
understand they reported it and nothing was done.
well, we can look,
Understand that. I'll give you the information, or
Yeah.
Turner.
we'll look into it. I haven't heard of this one, so I'm not familiar with it.
I think you're asking, how do they monitor it?
Yeah,
all the time,
yeah.
right? How do you monitor? How do you keep record?
So they have to come in, get their dangerous dog permit, and it's very, very strict criteria. The dogs have to be neutered, microchipped, kept updated in their rabies. They can never leave their property. If they leave their property, it has to be going to a medical, like to a vet, and they have to be muzzled and controlled. So that step, the second they break it, it's treated much easier in court for us to seize and destroy the animal versus having to go through steps. The fact that they broke that very strict permit pretty much guarantees us to be able to seize and euthanize
So
the
you have a
animal.
system of checking.
Yes,
Right.
but and a lot of it is we have to catch the dog breaking those permits.
Mhm. Well, get it going.
Anybody
Do
else?
nothing.
Well, I like the fact that we're one of the shortest ordinances.
I would like to make the motion to approve with the addition of the lifetime licensing and increase that fee to $10.
To how much?
$10.
Second.
Are we, before we move forward, are we gonna address the chickens?
Oh, the chicken, yeah, we gotta get the chickens taken care of.
Mr. Rockland?
Well, as part of the committee, the chickens were in there and we did get rid of all the other fowl. And there is still a limit on the number of chickens in town and there is no roosters. We felt that was a pretty good compromise, but
Do you remember how much, what's the number?
I believe it was 6. Kelly, is that right?
I can pull it up.
Roughly.
And it was based on property size as well.
Yes, it's.
So if
based
you had
on
a
how
huge
much-
piece of property, then you could,
Based on.
Four
how much.
chickens,
Four.
less than a half acre,
yes, which will be most of the properties.
10 for half acre.
Half
to
acre.
1 acre.
You probably have to have chickens now because the eggs are $4 a dozen.
And that was part of that. We had a lot of people say that was why they wanted chickens, was because of the cost of eggs.
We've already got a lot of chickens in town.
We do.
Different comments.
So
So you're saying we need to keep them? Based on that comment, we're gonna cause an uproar if we try to get rid of them.
So you say I can put a chicken coop in my house and raise chickens?
Yes.
Yes, sir. As long as it meets the setbacks and the amount of chickens, then yes.
So your motion included that?
Yeah, that's already in there, so I'm not making any change to the
Changes to
chicken.
that, that one, you're second, okay.
Okay,
We have a motion. By Mr. Rackler and a second by Mr. Robinson. Danielle?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Mr. Raffler,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merrick,
Yes.
and Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Okay, a motion carries. Second item is approval of easement application for a garden area located in the alleyway behind the address 2226 Boxwood Circle.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I've got some pictures. I'll go over my stuff. As you saw on the sign-in sheet, there are some people here. If you have any questions on property owners that they could also be directed to. We go to the next one. We'll go to the picture first and we'll come back. So this is the garden area in question. It is in the alley. But it's just it's a little garden area. It was flagged by our water, I think it was flagged to our trash, to our water department. The concern was there is some water lines in the area. How easements work is if that does break or pop, we're not responsible for any damages that are caused as we fix it, and we can terminate an easement at any time. So if we wanted to develop or put a structure there, then we can terminate our easement and the structures will have to be moved. They do have this here for weed control. It's better than, I get them the real tall, thick little tree weeds. I don't even know what they're called. But that's pretty much it. We didn't have a problem with it as far as allowing the easement. It's already been there 3 years. It hasn't caused any problems. So we're just looking to get your approval to have an official easement in place.
Questions?
Did we talk to, I apologize.
No, okay, go ahead.
Did we talk to the utility there? For XL, I think is their lines right there.
We did not talk to Excel. We just talked to city utilities.
Talk to who?
XL. For their power lines over it, just that is a worry and a concern of mine working at a utility. If you were to build any type of lattice underneath that, there's just a danger to you on that. So I would, if we do approve this, I would stay away from going of height on any of that.
And the good thing is the easement approves for this. It is not approved for any other additions. So they can't build anything that's not here. Yeah, this easement just covers what's there right now.
So we can assume they called 811 already to check the pipes.
Not for the pipes because they didn't do any digging.
They didn't do no digging. Okay,
No,
that's
as
true.
far as I can tell, and you can, perfect.
Okay.
It looked like it was all just surface level.
And so I did call that one, had to bounce part the line to make sure I wasn't. Nobody was
Okay,
taking on.
all right, you did check. them.
Good answer.
Anybody else? Mr. Rackler?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify, is this one of the areas, we have several areas in town where the fences for the properties are set a good distance from the actual alley? And those seem to be some of our worst weed control areas because the people that live in the homes don't feel like it's their responsibility. Cause their fence is here.
It's essentially that, sir.
Is that one of those?
So the garden area takes up about, I think it was 16 feet. So there's another 14 feet before you can get.
Before you get to the, okay,
It's very soft ground. The year after I moved in, we had some wildfires out to the west, so the whole area just covered in the soft dust.
right,
I'm in a wheelchair. I cannot maintain it without these pathways that I've laid down.
Right.
So essentially, that's how the project started.
Okay.
And then I thought, well, gosh, there's lots of tomatoes. So
Yeah. perfect, good job.
What kind of crops you growing in there?
I very usually brought some in so you can sample.
Growing in okra?
I've got some kale, I've got some broccoli, carrots, tomatoes, whole beans.
Very nice.
Sounds like Oscar's gonna come over and spit.
Always looking for an okra patch. Do we have to vote on this?
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Robinson and a second by Mr. Lopez. Danielle?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Mr. Rackler,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Stout,
Yes.
Mr. Merritt,
Yes.
and Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Next department is the transit. We have one item there. Request approval for resolution 2024-25, required to submit section 5311 grant application and ratification of signature for support letters to continue public transportation program, referred to as the Portales Area Transit. And this is Ms. Bailey.
Mayor, Pro Tem, and Council, community. I have a small error to correct yet. This is literally not for 24-25. This is for fiscal year 25-26.
Okay.
And my presentation will be very brief and not colorful.
No.
That's okay.
Danielle.
We are looking at a fleet of approximately 6 vehicles currently. We have a lot to catch up on in 24-25. I believe we will be working toward presenting an emergency fund to rehabilitate at least 3 vehicles to keep them on the road until 26. In the 25-26 budget, we need to include many avenues for advertising, for employees being added to the staff. At least 2, if not possibly 3 vehicles. We have 3 that are red flagged right now. I'm learning a great deal about the letters that need to be written yet before November arrives. Some meetings to review the budget items that I have found on my wish list, allocating them appropriately. Now we have to bring it back down to size to meet what the city would request as a matching amount. But your approval and support that we move forward to establish ourselves with Portales Area Transit in our community is vital.
Thank you. Any questions?
You can be colorful if you just play it your ringtone again.
Thank you.
Quick question, and maybe you could present again at another time, but for us to be looking for additional vehicles and a fleet of 6, and I've never heard any stats since I've been here about how many people request rides, how many people are using the service, you know, how much, is there any income at all? It looks like, I mean, I was gonna look at using it when I was unable to drive because of my knee, and I was like, hey, I'm old, I can use that for free. So, but I'm trying to figure out, I would like to see some data before we go into asking for a bunch of vehicles and stuff, if that would be possible.
Most absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, well, hearing none. What is pleasure of the council?
So Mr. Reckler, are you wanting to table this until we get further data?
It depends on what her letters are needed. If we need this approval to get the letters going, just to get the ball rolling, is that?
That is exactly what it
As
is.
long as we're just getting the
Okay.
ball rolling, I'm fine with it. I just,
Okay.
Only the beginning of the
in the
process.
meantime, I'd like to get some.
Some data.
I've compiled quite a bit. I'm just fine tuning the whole process.
And I understand, you're just getting your
And
feet
it will
wet.
come in.
I get it. I'm not asking to rush you, but we would like to see that. But
Yes.
yeah, I'm fine with approving it. I just getting rolling.
Are you working with the city or on the different program?
In the city.
New Mexico Department of Transportation is our main source. Federal Transit Authority is another resource and has many guidelines for what they expect from us and how to behave in the process of providing transit for our community. We are what's considered a rural and para transit. There are ambulatory needs, people who don't have a disability, but don't have a vehicle to travel. They may not have a license for multiple reasons, vision or too young to drive. We have school children whose parents need us to get their children at the front door of James Elementary and take them home directly. These are just a few of the parameters that we're permitted to operate in that. We're given a 5-mile radius of the city, but we're hearing a lot of noise about why can't we go to Clovis, Presbyterian Hospital, Plains Clinic.
To love
We've been asked to go to Lubbock, but the answer to that is there are other avenues that they can approach to make that kind of travel. And we're trying to stay current with some of the figures. In March, we had, in end of January through February and into March, we had 1 driver. The addition of the second driver more than doubled the rides. I have seen statistics from the past from Portales Transit and know that it's exponential with the number of drivers. We fill those buses without an issue. I'm not sure how to gauge the revenue. It looks pretty skimpy to me, but we still keep within the NMDOT's guidelines and the city's request, 75 cents if you buy a ticket, $1 if you just pay cash and ride. As long as you make a reservation a day in advance, we get you in the schedule.
But the philosophy behind Aero Transit in the rural community is not to make a profit. It's to provide a service.
Right.
Correct.
So when we started seeking data and all this information, it is not having 200 people per ride. And I think the purpose of this in the federal law is to provide rural community service.
Right.
And at a low cost.
Correct.
So I just worry about crunching numbers all the time.
I think it
It's not a
depends on,
cruncher.
I agree. I think it depends on our census, the percentage of people who do not have transportation, desiring transportation, requiring transportation if they're going anywhere. Begin to show me the picture that it is really necessary in Portales. And the hospitals use this. We are backup for other nursing facilities and age-related homes. So I don't have trouble seeing that our need is great. I'm trying to be safe and reliable and responsible with our resources.
Kind of back to Mr. Lopez's question though. You and all your staff are city employees. Correct?
Are we city employees?
Okay. That's kind of where, I think that's where we were headed with that.
But it's subsidized by grants.
If you're city employees, how come we don't do some for them? I'm not asking you. I'm asking this. Well, we got a new city manager. So he does.
He'll know the answer to it.
Well, I mean, he's not familiar with what's going on.
As the outlines in your council information sheet, this grant has a match that the city covers through our general fund to fund their entire program. It's a total ask in this grant of just under 740,000. The state picks up just under 540,000, but our local match is a little over 202,000 that the city does cover. That provides that.
So they do have a budget.
Yeah.
And the city needs to say, yes, we can, or no, we cannot go that high. When we fine tune this and bring this into the grant product, we literally have to itemize every line as a project. And therefore you will have great clarification about what we expect to do between now and 26.
Perfect.
Mr. Rivera likes that comment.
You brought up something that I had a question on. You said you were delivering school children. Why are you delivering school children if they've got buses? We've got buses.
Our buses don't go within a particular parameter. We have a young lady who's got cerebral palsy. She's 17 and her mother almost begged us to please. She cannot be in that mainstream. I believe she would be walking home and she would be someone I would consider a vulnerable youth.
Some of them drop.
I knew there had to be reasons why, and I was just gonna kind of clarify why that was the case.
We have some smaller children whose parents are incapacitated with their own malfunctions. And those children's parents and through child services have validated that we would be considered safe and reliable, responsible transportation to pick them up front door and deliver them home.
Thank you.
Thank you for answering me.
Okay.
The school district only have one bus for that.
Yeah.
That's fine,
Is that true? Just one?
just one.
My.
We can't find a driver, you want to send us one?
God
Hey,
forbid.
hey, sir.
Get recruiting. Well, we appreciate all you do for our school children, that's for sure.
For our
Work
community.
on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So do you need a motion?
Yes, yes,
I'll
sir.
make that motion.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Merrick and a second by Mr. Rackler. Danielle?
Mayor Pro Tem
Yes.
and Mr. Rackler,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins.
Yes.
I skipped Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
I started at that. Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Barrett,
Yes.
and Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Next, we have up city council and staff comments. We'll start with staff. No, you have anything? No? Okay, nobody? Ms. Rackler?
Well, I have a few today, so apologies, folks, but first I'd like to commend the group of Portales Beautification that's been doing Mr. Davidson and Mr. Watkins, and some folks have been, and Miss Watkins have been doing some great things, cleaning up our parks and stuff and fixing to start working on our cemetery. Hopefully I get my knees finished. I'll try to come help sometime, but I really appreciate the efforts you're making in that, and I think our whole community does, and I just want to recognize that. The second question I have is kind of toward Chris and Ashley. I understood several months ago we were going to get a water update every meeting. kind of where we at on the tanks, what's going on with the water, and we haven't had one of those in quite some time. I see a lot of talk on social media about where the tank's at, what's going on, and I can't answer those questions if I don't get updated. So I would like to see those come back, where every meeting we get an update on where we're at on water.
Would you prefer that come back in a meeting or just an update via email so that you have the answers for your constituents, or?
I think it needs to be part of the public meeting. I think the public needs to hear it as well. That's my opinion. But anyway, I'd like to see that back on the agenda the way it used to be. I'd like to see us, maybe Mr. Moyer at some point, and those of you that do the reminders, remind our community again, we are still under restriction for water. I've been doing a lot of walking, trying to rehab this knee, and I see a lot of sprinklers going every day of the week, all the time. So I'd like to kind of reinforce with people that we are still under restriction. Somewhere soon, I'd like to hear an update on all those wonderful things the governor promised us. Where are we at with all those dumpsters we're gonna get and all those things we were promised?
Waiting on agreement, once we get that, then those first ones.
You have heard from them, great. Okay, thank you. Maybe update us on that next meeting or something. And lastly, you guys mentioned it, but anytime somebody's gonna present a PowerPoint, if you could either put those in the packet or send them the same day the packets go out, so we can look at those while we're looking at packet stuff. I'll be honest with you. When it's time to really review for the meeting, that's the day I sit down and go through all that stuff. We do still have jobs and other responsibilities, so sometimes the ones that just fall in the middle somewhere get overlooked, so I'd appreciate that. That's all I think.
Mr. Merrick?
There has been a lot of talk about the cemetery, and I already had that kind of on my schedule to ask where we were at on the new addition. Have we got any planning done on the new acreage? Are we working on any of that, or?
Yeah, we're making plans up now, how we're gonna make our sections.
Okay.
And then we're gonna have to redo our roofs.
Do we have someone hired that's kind of drafting a layout, or?
Sammy's helping us.
All right. And I also wanted to make clear that we are not a perpetual care cemetery. That when you buy that plot, that you're responsible for maintaining it. And we attempt to put that lanes mowed in between the headstones. But there's a lot of people that have been putting a lot of obstructions out there. A lot of lights going up, a lot of fences, a lot of rocks, and all of that just deters from the people being able to do their job. And it slows the process down. And it's in the ordinance already that can be removed. And I would like us to be posting that if you've got any of those obstructions there, that you're gonna get a certain amount of time to get those removed. And if they're not removed, then we will take them out. Because you guys don't need to be fighting that. And that would help a lot on being able to keep the cemetery taken care of. The other thing I wanted to bring up is our parks. We have got to find a way, and I know, Steve, we've had this conversation before about we don't know where all of our inbound lines are tying into our current water system. If we've got to hire someone to come in and locate all those lines and get them to where we can isolate them and then get tied back into our reuse water, we've got to be able to get started watering these parks. We're losing trees, we're losing grass, our town is just falling apart because we can't keep this stuff watered and going. And I don't want to have to we definitely don't need to be using drinkable water to be doing it, but we've got the resources with the reuse water available, and we've got to get them tied back in. So let me know if I can help in any way, locating people that can locate those lines and get them isolated. I'd be glad to help. That's all I had.
Mr. Robinson? It's yourself.
I think other councilmen touched on some things I was gonna say, but I think we should start now on getting some bids on what we need to do to fix the pool.
We are.
We are, okay.
We can include that in the update from the governor's promises. The mayor's working diligently with her to find the funding, and Joe and Steve have done an excellent job getting bids and starting that process to try to ensure that that's open next summer.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Thanks for your proactiveness. Thank you.
Mr. Lopez?
Well, I'm gonna go back to a new city manager. He's the one that's supposed to do all this stuff. He's been hearing all the complaints here, so he should know what he's gonna do whenever he takes over. Thank you.
I've got mainly a couple of questions. And Kelly, I think you said it was Kelly's job for the negligent lawns that we're having to maintain. On that ordinance, I guess we had to go out for bid to get somebody to go mow those lawns. We recently did one on, I think, University and Maine. Looks great. Thanks for getting that done. The issue is it cost us a significant amount of money, thousands of dollars to mow a yard. Correct me if I'm wrong, is that? To mow that lawn is criminal. So we have to figure out, how can we fix that ordinance? How can we have the beautification team go out and do that? If that's possible, because that is a huge waste of money. Because we go put a lien on that home, which I think has been in foreclosure many times. We're never getting that money back. And so we're just wasting city funds. We need to do everything we can to try and fix that. Just because that killed me when I heard that. Question for possibly Steve. Kilgore and 18th, are we having issues with that new intersection with the rain? I was told by, I want to say it was one of our consultants, that it was engineered wrong and that was just completed. Are we gonna have to redo that, or was I misinformed on that?
We got a meeting on that this week. They didn't follow the drawings on it.
They didn't follow the drawings, so we'll probably have to rip that back out and redo it, or?
We're trying to figure out what we're gonna.
Okay, I guess keep us updated on that. Reuse line again, and I don't want to hammer on it too much, but this was something that we'd learned in our public works meeting, I guess last week or 2 weeks ago. We're only using 4% of that reuse water now, that we have the ability to use. And we have the cemetery and the softball complex.
Softball complex is out of the impound. The cemetery is out of the plant.
Okay, but it's all from the treatment plant. So you fill up the pond to do the softball complex, right? So it's still that reuse water. We've got to figure out a way, I agree with Eldon, to up that number significantly. Just because we're being very, very wasteful with that $20 million, whatever that wastewater treatment plant costs us. It's just sitting there idle almost. So I'd really like to see if we can push that to get that being used a little bit more efficiently. That's all I got.
Okay, I just have a couple of things. I just want to thank the staff for being here today. It's really helpful whenever we have comments and questions that you guys are answering as you can, so I appreciate that. TJ, can you update us on the fire that happened on Avenue O, and if that house is now deemed a dangerous structure because it could fall and there's people still there?
Yes, ma'am. So as many of y'all are aware, we were having an active structure fire last Saturday. That involved a home, 3 RVs, and an outbuilding for storage. State Fire Marshal has been in to investigate. I don't believe anything can be done until they've made their determination.
Okay. Do you know about how long they take to determine?
It depends on their workload and staffing. It
Okay.
could be next week or it could be next month. There's no really way for me to gauge that.
Okay. Kind of scary when there's a bunch of people that are still staying there that, you know, the building could fall at any time. So just wanted to say that. And then Miss Kelly, do we have an update on L?
We're still waiting on some hearings paperwork, so we can.
Okay, perfect. And then, Chris, I just wanted to thank you, your team for last night. I sent TJ a picture of where the road had came up because I think, did the pipe burst underneath there and push the road up?
Yeah, so it's just a service line, but unfortunately, service line can act like it's a mainline break. So we just stayed out, dug it up and got it repaired for now. We got plans to excavate the entirety of that line and get it replaced. So that we're gonna replace it and then we're gonna cap that fire hydrant that's there. On the east end. And it's being fed off a 4-inch main and it doesn't meet the requirements for a fire hydrant to be there anyway. So we're gonna cut that one out and go up towards Main and Fur and try to put one in off the 6 inches there.
Perfect, thank you. I know that, I think I called TJ at 6:24 and y'all were there by like 6:27, so your prompt attention to that was very much appreciated. And that is all I have. Next item is executive session. Action to convene in a closed meeting to discuss matters as provided for under the New Mexico statutes relating to limited matters pertaining to the sale of city property, discussion and action on the new city manager's final contract, pending litigation with Roosevelt County Water Co-op. Do I need action to convene into a closed session?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Elkins and a second by Mr. Merrick. I mean, Mr. Self, sorry. Daniel. This is a long agenda.
Max would like that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Mr. Rackler,
Yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merritt,
Yes.
and Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Okay, we are now in closed session.
Everyone.
Okay. Okay, we need a motion to come into open session.
So, second.
We have a motion and a second. Does anybody object to coming out of open session? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Okay, only those matters, listed for executive session were discussed. And coming out, we have one action item.
I would like to make a motion for 928 East Elb that the city will hire an appraisal for the lot and a replat. And that the potential buyer will reimburse the city for expenses occurred from that appraisal and replat.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Self and a second by Mr. Robinson.
Question,
Yes, sir.
do we need to include that they will agree to pay the appraisal price?
Before the appraisal?
Do we need to include that? No, I think we need to include that they'll.
They'd have to agree to it.
They'd have to agree to
Agree
it
to the appraisal
before
price.
we can do.
'Cause we're not gonna go pay for a survey and then they're not gonna agree to
Yes.
the appraisal.
Well, they have to agree to the appraisal and the replat prior to getting that.
Okay,
Okay, Danielle, will you call the roll one last time?
On that particular action,
Yes, ma'am.
so Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Mr. Rackler,
yes.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Elkins,
Yes.
Mr. Self,
Yes.
Mr. Merritt,
Yes.
and Mr. Lopez.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. And with that, our next item is adjournment. Sorry for the delayed meeting, but we appreciate you all that stayed. So thank you again. We are adjourned.